You probably know the name Thomas Edison, but do you know the man or the legend? Let's take a walk through Thomas Edison's life and find out who the man really was.
Thomas Edison was born in Milan, Ohio on February the 11th, 1847. Thomas was the last of 7 children in the Edison family. The family then moved to Port Huron, Michigan in 1854. By age 12, Thomas started selling candy, snacks, and newspapers on the local railroad. At age 14, he used his access to news releases that were teletyped into the station every day to start his own newspaper. One day, Tom saved the station master's young son, Jimmy Mackenzie, who wandered in front of an oncoming boxcar. As a reward, Jimmy's father taught Tom how to use Morse code and a telegraph. In that time, it was like knowing how to use a state-of-the-art computer today. By 15, Edison mastered the basics of his new career in telegraphy. At 16, he created his first invention, the automatic repeater. It transmitted telegraph signals between unmanned stations. Unfortunately, he never patented the initial idea. In 1868, a 21-year-old Edison returned home penniless. But his family was even worse off. Edison took some advice from another telegraph operator and applied for a job at Western Union Company in Boston. He worked 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and continued working on side projects. Edison applied for and received his first patent for an electric vote recording machine within 6 months of working at Western Union Company.
The vote recorder that Edison invented was not for voters. It was for legislators.
Oh, okay.
And they didn't see any reason to speed up voting because part of the voting process also involved negotiations to bring people over to your side, right? Mm-hmm. And so there was no advantage to that.
Edison again found himself low on money and was on the verge of being fired for not concentrating on his job. He decided to borrow $35 from his friend Benjamin Bredding to go to New York City. Edison resumed working on his side projects, such as improving the stock ticker. Shortly thereafter, a corporation paid him $40,000 for the rights to the device. He sent money back to his family and repaid Bredding the $35. In 1874, Edison received money for several patents and opened his first laboratory in Newark, New Jersey. In 1877, Edison moved his lab to Menlo Park, New Jersey, and invented the first phonograph. In 1879, Edison was disappointed that Bell had beaten him to patent the first authentic transmission of the human voice. Edison immediately after started working on the light bulb. But was he the one to invent it?
In the early 1800s, Davy created the first electric lamp, and I was just wondering your thoughts on this. Should Davy, Edison, or any one person be given credit for the light bulb, or should we just say, it was kind of a gradual...
Right. So here's the way I answer that question. Mm-hmm. Lots of people invented incandescent light bulbs. What Edison invented was an electrical system that enabled a particular kind of incandescent light bulb to successfully be introduced and used on a wide scale.
In 1880, Edison founded the Edison Illumination Company. Soon after started what some call now the War of Currents between Harold Brown and George Westinghouse. Harold was a proponent of direct current, while George was of alternating current. Edison and his company aided Brown, as he used direct current for his bulbs. They used AC in public displays to show how it is more dangerous than DC.
So the whole episode of the Battle of the Currents is a little bit more complex. So Edison first became involved in the idea of testing current on animals through 2 channels. One was a person who was part of a 3-member commission set up by the state of New York to investigate alternatives to hanging. The other was the son of the man who founded the Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals and was involved with that society, asked Edison if electrocution would be a more humane way of putting animals to death. It leads him to, I think, see the electrocution experiments as public service because of this issue of, sort of twofold issue of danger to humans, humane treatment of animals.
By 1892, the Edison General Electric Company had merged with another firm to become the General Electric Corporation. Edison created the kinetoscope in 1897 and helped produce one of the first films, The Great Train Robbery, in 1903. It was written and directed by Edwin S. Porter. In 1908, Edison helped form the Motion Picture Patents Company with other film patent holders. This created a monopoly on the movie industry, the equipment within it, and the films themselves. There are stories about Edison sending men to the sites of the first independent filmmakers, trying to use Edison's equipment, and having them smash the equipment and stop the films from being made. But is it true?
So the stories about people breaking up machines,
Yeah.
complete nonsense.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the movie industry in this time period of the Motion Picture Patents Company, basically 1908, 1915, when it was broken up by the government, was centered in Fort Lee, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
So the story, first of all, that people went out to Hollywood to escape, these thugs that were breaking machines and stuff, is nonsense. There were people who were sort of spies and detectives who were sent to Fort Lee, not to break up machines, but to find out what people were using so they could be sued in court of law.
Thomas Edison spent many of his final years in Fort Myers, Florida, where he continued to work on projects, some with Henry Ford, who lived nearby. He died of complications of diabetes on October the 18th, 1931, in his home, Glenmont, in West Orange.
Why is Edison important? And I think Edison is important because he's the one that is probably the most significant figure in sort of transforming the way in which invention takes place, but also understanding that there's a connection between what happens in the laboratory and then the process of commercializing technology, that he provides a really crucial early model, and one that he's the first person really to pull together this idea and make it part of a larger process of innovation. And so I think that model, even as it's modified by others, is really important.